anglers generally head south to fish for big eels. Today we're going to add a new theme to big eel angling. We've actually headed north and we've passed Inverness in the far northwest of Scotland, fishing for big eels in a remote Highland loch. This region isn't as cold as you might expect. It's warmed by the Gulf Stream, which is pushing further north each year. The warm waters of the Atlantic Stream push against the west coast, where water evaporates and drifts inland. Near to our loch, a series of high mountains trap the warm, moist air, resulting in the region enjoying quite a warm and very wet climate. The river we're following spills out of a loch, lying high up amongst acid rocks and peat bogs, where the wild landscape has never been altered by any human interference. 60 feet high this waterfall. We know that eels will be up in the loch because we know that Elvers can get past waterfalls like this. Elvers can even wriggle up vertical faces like dam walls because they've only got a light body weight and their dam's body virtually sticks to the edges. We'll get up that waterfall and go up into the loch above where all there is resident trout and char left from the ice age 10,000 years ago. Wild fish live in wild places. This landscape is certainly that. Sculpted by the ice age, it then became covered in forests of Caledonian pine and birch before deforestation led to the peat bog and heather-clad moorlands of today. Acidic, cold and wet, few plants can grow in such conditions. One or two species have adapted. There are several insectivorous species of plant. The mountain is actually a large chunk of Pteridian sandstone left isolated by the Ice Age, lying amongst harder rock in this extreme rockscape. Here is a fine example of one of these insectivorous species of plant. It's known as a sundew plant. The purpose of that is to trap insects. Well, as we know out here, the insects are midges. You can actually see some in there where it's trapped them on the leaves, and it will then ingest or digest them, and it actually manages to live off the flies rather than off the soil. Cold, mineral poor waters bear little in solution, as there is no leaching from the hard rocks in this region. Low in nutrient salts, the waters have little primary production of algal material. There's no farming here, nor is there any fertile soil to be leached into the lake. Consequently, there's little decaying matter to deplete the oxygen. Such lakes are known as oligotrophic. Oligio is Greek for few. Few nutrients means less fish and slower growth rates. So why might we find such large trout from unproductive waters like these? This loch fits all the criteria for a ferox water. Scientists reckon that a loch needs to be over 100 hectares to contain large enough shoals of char to support ferox, which prey and depend on char for their survival. Char forms shoals covering several hundred square yards and containing several 100,000 fish. Probably the main factor influencing the growth of ferox in this loch are the shoals of char which have survived the retreating ice cap. As the last glaciers receded about 10,000 years ago, some huge chunks of ice remained slowly melting away. These last chunks of ice form deep glacial lochs, and as the last ice melted, there were many char huddled together around them. These cold, water-loving char had no exit from the deep lochs, and they have been landlocked here ever since. Another thing about oligotrophic lakes and ferox is that such lakes lend to slower growth rates and a longer life. Ferox enjoy both of these. A typical trout of a Highland loch or an English reservoir will grow very fast but only live for 6 or 7 years. Ferox live 3 times longer than this and just keep on growing and growing as they convert char protein to body weight year after year. We first came here to fish for ferox. We were surprised to catch eels of 3.5 and 4.5 pound, which are pretty big eels considering we're so far north and up in the mountains. Since then we've caught several 3 and 4 pound eels from this region and lost one that was much bigger. It seems that oligotrophic conditions benefit the slow growing eel in much the same way as ferox, and there are some real whackers lurking in these depths. So we intend to target eels during the hours of darkness, then try for ferox once it gets light.